Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the SPX Podcast, brought to you by the Steel Pipe Exchange, featuring Matt Manley and Brian DuBose. We're rolling. So,
Starting off.
Structural pipe. What is structural pipe?
That's a question.
That is a question. There's a lot of structural pipe. There's big, there's small, there's long, and there's short. And structural pipe, a lot of it has a different name, but it's all structural pipe.
Drill stem, drill pipe, tubing. Names and names and names.
Lots of
Basically
names.
what it is, though, is steel, 2 holes on the end. Typically round, sometimes oval, sometimes square, rectangle. There's a lot of stuff, but we deal with all of it.
Yeah. So, just so everybody knows, a lot of those different shapes it's called tubing, which are, tubing pipe, kind of interchangeable, kind of not, depending on who you ask. Some people get pretty upset about calling it pipe, but that's okay.
Some people call them pipes.
Some people call them pipes, some people call them cylinders, some people call them tubes. Lots of names that they come with. So, but our business is the Steel Pipe Exchange. We are the Steel Pipe Exchange. We started it, we own it, we operate it. Steel Pipe Exchange is in the business of buying and selling pipe.
And other products.
And other products.
Made out of pipe.
Yeah.
Anything steel related.
Anything steel related. We get a little bit into the new steel, not too much.
Used
to do a lot more new steel, new pipe.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about steel, we're not talking about like the hot roll, cold roll, the big master coils, things like that they make pipe out of. We don't deal with that, but it's a very altogether market. Like it all comes together, it all touches at some point. Same as with new pipe, used pipe, it all comes from hot and cold rolled steel.
Yeah. It's just like any commodity. It's like one ripple in the pool over here causes earthquakes over there. It's pretty crazy. I mean, and it just goes back to, it's been a crazy 5 years since COVID started. I mean, whatever you think about COVID, it changed every game. Including ours. I mean, I would say, we felt the effects all the way through, but pre-COVID, we were selling a ton of decoiled tubing. This is before the Steel Pipe Exchange even existed. We kind of got our start well before that, and the Steel Pipe Exchange has been kind of the culmination of that start. But before the Steel Pipe Exchange even existed, we were selling so much decoiled pipe, a little bit, I don't know, would you say a lot of used?
Yeah, not as much as some, but we were selling a lot of used.
Definitely not as much as now.
Definitely not as much as now, and that's a whole nother thing, is that decoiled pipe. That was, that's fairly in the pipe world, in the OCTG and everything like that. That's a fairly new product for as long as it's been around the industry. Now they use that. I believe it's all fracking is what they use that in.
Completions,
So, but it's all steel pipe. It's still 2 3/8 OD, but the coiled tubing comes in 2 3/8 and 2 5/8. That's the most common ones. Whereas our used pipe, like our used oil field pipe, is 2 3/8, 2 7/8. That's different, and a lot of people are still getting used to the 2 5/8 because it's so new.
Yeah, it's hard to get used to something when it comes and goes. It goes back to when we were starting the Steel Pipe Exchange. COVID, coiled tubing goes away. So we had a lot of customers kind of hooked on the 2 5/8 because it's a great in between. I mean, it's right there smack in between 2 3/8 and 2 7/8. You get a little bit more on the truck than you do with 2 7/8, but it's heavier and bigger and thicker than the 2 3/8. So it's a great product, fits a really good niche. Then coiled tubing goes away with COVID and oil prices and
the talks of banning
fracking talks and everything. And so then it's like, well, I don't want to go with 2 3/8, too small, so you got to go with the 2 7. Well, okay. Now the used pipe prices during that COVID 2020, 21, 22 was insane. I mean, there was a time, a good while, where we were buying 2 7/8 number one for $95 a joint.
Yeah, I remember that, and we and you couldn't find it. even paying those high prices, it just wasn't out there.
I'd offer people more if I could.
Yeah,
if they had it.
Yeah, and it was difficult for us because we couldn't, because we're in the business to sell pipe. We buy it X, sell it for Y, and Y is more than X, and you make profit. Hopefully, if you're doing good.
Yeah.
But we didn't buy a lot because our customers, farmers, ranchers, fence builders, home builders, things like that, they couldn't afford to do it, so they weren't doing the projects. Which I understand that it's difficult, but
they're still like that, and I mean the price has essentially halved, if not more, give or take, depending on what it is you're. Number 1, brushed and cleaned. Number 2, number 1.5.
Yeah.
It's essentially halved, but you still have people. Well, in 2019, I paid $20.
Right.
It's not 2019 anymore. A lot has happened since 2019. I was on the phone with somebody yesterday, and they're telling me, I paid $25 in 2019 or 2018 or whatever it was, and it's like,
I think we were selling it for that much in 2019.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is back in those days, the oil field companies, they were scrapping it, and if you were lucky enough to get in and get it before it got scrapped, then you could sell it at $25 a joint or whatever. But what happened during COVID is that those oil companies, they figured out that they need to be making every penny they can on this stuff, and I can sell it for $40 a joint. During COVID, I can sell it for 50, 60. We went out to a oil derrick in, I think it was Bryan, Texas, where we went out, and this stuff was just pulled out of an oil well. This guy is an oil field operator, or he worked for one. And we needed to get our trucks in that yard to pick up, get a loader on site, pay for the loader, go to multiple different, locations where the pump jacks were, and all the tubing was pulled, and we had to do all that. And he wanted top dollar for that pipe.
Yeah.
Because he could.
And that's the thing. A lot of guys that pull pipe and work over rigs, stuff like that. They've, some of them, that are smaller or like have the time to do it or whatever. They'll sell pipe to the end user, the farmer, the rancher that can come out there with his guys, load up some joints, and be done. And that's that's fine. That's your best. That's going to be your best deals anyway.
Yeah.
But for us, a pipe dealer, we keep inventory. We sell by the truckload. We buy by the truckload, multiples.
Mm-hmm.
For us, it doesn't make a lot of sense for us to buy it 10, 15, 20 at a time. Right. And it's not economic for us.
Right.
But, to the point of, in COVID, and correct me if I'm wrong, you know more about this than I do, the oil field companies, they were using the pipe past its normal expectancy. And I think it was what company was it that we first heard about that?
Well, I heard about the big guys going from, very strict standards to relaxing those standards a little bit. Mm-hmm. Now, I didn't talk to those companies or any representation of those companies. I don't want to name names or anything, but you think about the big guys, you know who they are. And basically, pre-COVID, standards are incredibly high for testing. And, anything that if there's any risk, any wall loss, above 10%, 15%, we're not going to use it. Now, when COVID happened, it's like, okay, well, 15% is not so bad. We can live with 15. Oh, well, maybe we can live with 20, and I don't know where, I don't know what the paper trail is. Like, did they talk to the testing facilities, say, hey, relax your standards? Or was it, hey, if you keep your same standards, but if you tell me we're at 35% wall loss, well, we can use that for flow line. I don't know what that looked like, but what I heard a lot was, well, I can't get any pipe because the operators are holding on to it.
Yeah.
Trying to get the life out of it.
Yeah, and again, that's just what we heard. Like you said, the big oil companies, they don't talk to us. They don't care about us. We're just some pipe dealers. They don't, we'll talk to maybe a representative every once in a while, but not, they don't care about us as their OCTG stuff. But, so it's interesting, the market, how it's gone from being one way to being completely different.
It's flipped on its head.
It just flipped on its head.
During that COVID time, that prime 2 3/8 was cheaper than number one used.
Right.
So we were able to buy. I mean, I love selling new pipe because it was brand new, cut to even lengths, no waste, bundled, so you get a lot more on a truck. It's Schedule 40 versus closer to Schedule 80 with oil-filled pipe, so you get a lot more on the truck. It was safer to load and unload. It was faster to unload and load, and I just loved it. I mean, it was perfect every time because there's no difference. It was all new prime ASTM 513 structural tubing, and people would use it for their fences just like they do with the used pipe, but it was cheaper.
Yeah.
So that was a weird market, and I mean, I don't know if we'll ever see it again, but you never know in this industry at all. You
never know, and that kind of brings us back to what we were talking about is the pipe exchange. Why we started the pipe exchange in the first place is, it started out because we were buying and selling pipe. We were building cattle panels and selling them. We were building and buying cattle panels and gates and selling them and kind of farm and ranch stuff, feeders and whatnot. Continuous fence, which we still do.
Yep.
But the steel pipe exchange came about because it was hard for us to kind of get a handle on the players in the market. Not really get a handle, I say.
Come and go.
But they would come and go. There's a lot of people that come and go in the industry. A guy will get a deal on some pipe, on a few loads of pipe, and he'll get it, he'll sell it and make his money, and then he doesn't get it anymore and he goes back to his job or whatever he was doing. But then there's guys that, that's how they make a living, like us. That's how we make our living. Right. We're in it.
Staying power.
Yeah, we have staying power. We buy a lot and we sell a lot. And with that comes inherent risk in the market, is where, you've got these guys that'll get a few loads of pipe or figure out that you can make money selling pipe, and they'll go and they'll buy this pipe, or at least get someone that will sell it to them. That's like a guarantee to sell it, and they'll go sell it to all these other guys. And what happens a lot of time is a guy will, he'll sell a load here, load there, load there, load there to these different people and sell it a bunch of different times, and sell it, pay for it, get it delivered, and someone's got their pipe and it's all good. But a lot of the guys, they'll overextend themselves, and at the very end of their pipe career, so to speak, whoever's their last transaction, he's the one left holding the bag. He'll pay for a load of pipe and never gets it, and then they can never find the guy again. It happens so often.
We've seen it way too many times.
Yeah, we've seen it a lot of times. We've had it happen to us, and we were tired of it. So we came up with the steel pipe exchange as a way to, find out and have kind of everybody all in one place as best you can talking about pipe. So one, it keeps people honest, because they know that if they want to sell pipe, then they can't get a bad reputation, because it's spread, especially with the internet. News of someone's bad deal spreads a lot faster than it used to. Used to, it was, you'd make a call or you'd hear it through the grapevine. But by then, they've done that to 4 or 5 people.
Right.
But now through the internet, it's a lot easier, a lot faster information to where, you can weed out these guys.
Yeah. I would say the majority of the market at this point is on the pipe exchange on Facebook. So that's great. In the early days, and we didn't know how big it was going to get and how fast.
Right.
I mean, we started it, in my mind, people are always going to say we started it for our financial gain. I don't think that was, in my mind, it was about protecting ourselves, protecting others in the market, but also meeting other people. Because like you said, I feel like, especially during COVID, but still now, like you said, you find people, they find a couple people with some pipe, and now they're pipe brokers and they're in the business and they're selling to everybody. But as soon as those sources dry up, they've got no staying power. They don't know where else to go. Well, so-and-so told me he was going to get me some pipe. I already took the money from a customer. So-and-so can't get me the pipe. Do I give the money back? Well, I already paid this person for some other pipe, and now I'm getting screwed. And we've seen that, I mean, probably a dozen times. And it is, I mean, it's happened to us, and it's almost happened to us several more times.
Yeah.
There was a recent one where someone has been in the business for a long time. And again, I won't say any names or anything. If it comes out on the Pipe Exchange at a later date, that's for a different discussion. But there was a recent one where there's been somebody in probably for several years, and they're a name in the market. They've been around for a while.
Yeah.
I think they've done a lot of business over the years, relatively speaking. And we did a couple loads with them first time because I finally, was able to make a deal with the guy. And first couple went okay. Next one, you send a truck to the location, and they're not loading the truck. Well, why not? Well, they say they haven't been paid yet. Well, I paid last week for that pipe. Well, they're saying they haven't been paid by the guy you're buying it from.
And we're getting this call from the yard.
Yeah.
Where
or from our freight broker, freight coordinator, or somewhere in between.
Somebody we're working with is telling us these.
And so I get on the phone with the guy, say, hey, what the heck? Oh, I sent the wire. Oh, they must not. They're so hard to deal with. They're crazy. Oh, okay. And, send the truck back. Got to pay that detention fee.
Yeah, and we don't, and we take everybody at their word until they give us a reason not to.
Right.
I think people, if he tells us that they're difficult to deal with, some people are difficult to deal with.
Yep.
And I get it.
Yeah.
People have said that we are difficult at sometimes. Very few people, because we
and I don't agree.
Yeah, we try to be as easy as we can and make everything as good as we can. But so we, someone tells us, hey, I did this and I did this, and it's their responsibility. Okay, I believe you.
Yep.
How do we fix the situation?
The thing was, I knew the pipe was there, so okay, I know I can get my pipe because it's there. So what's holding this up? Well, come to find out that I paid him, but he didn't have the money anymore. Where did the money go? Well, he went to go pay for something else and get that to someone else. He's waiting for someone else to pay him so that he can do my load, and it's just this continuous cycle. And it's like, man, once you get to that point, stop taking people's money.
Yeah.
Because you're digging yourself a hole, and at some point, you're going to be holding the bag. You're going to get in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Well, we told that, in that particular case, this guy had a partner, and we told the partner, look, we're not getting screwed. If you do not release this pipe, then some bad things are going to happen. You'll never sell another piece of pipe in this industry again, unless it's to someone who just lives under a rock and is not on the Pipe Exchange. Mm-hmm. And that was enough to get this deal undone. Years ago, when the Pipe Exchange was a couple thousand members, we don't know. But now we got 33,000 members and counting. And, I encourage other people to use that as they can. If you're in a situation where someone is stringing you along, doesn't look like it's good. They may not have the money anymore. Oh, there's excuse after excuse after excuse. Tell them, look, if you don't get me my pipe that I paid for, you can either give me my money back, you can get me my pipe, and if you don't, I'm gonna be forced to put you on the Steel Pipe Exchange on the bad deals thread. Post what happened. Now, we've spoken to our attorneys, the Steel Pipe Exchange attorneys, on what is allowed to happen on the Steel Pipe Exchange in terms of reporting these bad situations.
Yeah.
And essentially, no name calling, no slandering,
no doxing.
Basically, it's just got to be the facts.
Yeah.
I told person I need pipe. They said I have pipe at this price. I sent them the money. Here's the transaction receipts. Here's the text messages. And I have not received the pipe. That's all we can do.
Yeah.
And then if the person wants to sue you for slander or whatever, then they have to prove that it's untrue. But if it's true, meaning they would have to produce documentation that says you received that pipe. And if there is none, then...
And we try to avoid any kind of legal dispute with our members and with ourselves if we can. Because one, it's very expensive. Legal disputes are very expensive, and the only people that win are the attorneys. Every single time, they're the ones that win because you pay them to go do this. Now,
should have been a lawyer.
What we try to do is we try to kind of mediate, arbitrage some stuff, and just like we can try as the Steel Pipe Exchange owners and our moderators and our admins and stuff. We try to help people out. You know, we'll get in contact with both parties, and we've done this before. It's like, hey, what's this guy is telling us this? What's the story? And we'll get that story, and then we'll talk to this person. We'll try to figure out the facts and make it better. Either someone can get product, or they can get money back, or whatever they can do.
Right.
If it's just a misunderstanding, great. You know, and if we've come into stuff to where we've done that, and there was guys like, he told us, I don't have the money. You know, I just don't have it.
It's gone.
It's gone. So there's nothing to do. So what we came up with, it was kind of a creative situation, is we came up with a thing like, okay, listen, I understand you don't have the money. I get it. You can't make money come out of thin air. But this guy needs his pipe. So this is what you can do. And I don't want to get into specifics, but we laid out a plan. I was like, okay, do these things. We'll help you stay in business. We'll help you do this as long as you agree to make it right for this guy when the time comes, and all that. And he agreed, and the other party agreed, and we helped out, and we tried to get that all mediated. Now, I don't remember what came out of that. I don't know if it was actually resolved, but we had a plan, and
we did our best. And I mean, the thing is, it's happened probably a dozen times or so where someone says, hey, this guy didn't give me my pipe, or this guy didn't give me my money. And there's always two sides to every story. In a couple of instances, there were the guy in question was just like, yeah, I don't have it. Money's gone. Pipe's gone. I don't have it. I can't get it.
Yeah.
So, we did our best. We've sold pipe at break even just to give the person what they needed.
Yeah.
But at the same time, working hand in hand with the other party.
Yeah.
To make it right in whatever way we could.
Yeah. Also, as the Steel Pipe Exchange, we have, we've lost money on some loads and some deals just to help make somebody whole from a bad experience. And, we can only do so much, like we can only lose so much money to do it, but that's part of the Steel Pipe Exchange. It is why it's a good thing that we can do it, because we know, and, we try to be upstanding and always deal in good faith and have good business practices, because we want the industry just to be better. We want to do business in the industry, and we want the industry to be better as we do business. So, and we still get people that, we'll sell to, and they're like, well, I don't want to send you, $10,000, $15,000, and I don't know if I'm going to get my pipe. And that's a fair thing. I get it. I understand. I'm the same way. Mm-hmm. I don't like doing that either. That's why we try to do business with upstanding people, and we usually pay for it right before it sends. Mm-hmm. Now, we know that we're upstanding and do business right. We understand that we're not going to take someone's money, not give them product. We know that as the Steel Pipe Exchange. A customer, a rancher, a fence builder, they don't know that. They don't know us. Right. We do our best to, show them and prove to them that, we're a legitimate company. Like we have people that, they can get in touch with our bank and our banker. They can get in touch with any of our locations.
Yeah.
We can go where some pipe is at and do a video call, FaceTime, and show them, hey, I've got pipe. Look, I'm a legitimate business. This is how I live here. And that usually helps most people to understand that, we've been in business. My grandpa started in this industry in the 60s, and it was that way back then. It was probably a lot worse back then because it's a lot harder to hold people accountable. But, my grandfather, my father, me, my family, we're in the business. We've been in the business. We've seen a lot. And there's still a lot to see, but the industry as a whole is a very interesting one, and it's very interesting to do business in.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't want it to sound like we're doing an ad for ourselves. Of course, this is our podcast. We're in the business. We own the Steel Pipe Exchange. The Steel Pipe Exchange is essentially, our platform, and great. But I really want to shed light on this industry, because I don't know if it's the last frontier. I guess there's never a last frontier in business, because people are always making new industries and everything. But this industry has been around for a long time, and people don't know about it.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what farming and ranching is, everybody knows what banking is. Everyone knows what, entertainment,
Oil
and gas, all that stuff. People don't know what this industry is. The farm and ranch, any Joe Schmo on the street, if you ask them what is a farm and ranch store, they might say Tractor Supply.
Yeah. Or their local feed store.
That's all they got.
Yeah.
So I think that the drama in this industry is good enough to be on TV.
Yeah, I think so.
The drama on this is good enough to be in a movie.
Yeah.
But just, I think people need to know, I think anybody out there would be entertained by some of the stories that we've been a part of, that we've seen, that we've witnessed.
Yeah.
And that are still going on.
Yeah, and I think that we'll have in the future, we can have, whole episodes about stories that we have, and for more entertainment and a little bit of information. This one, our first one is more just who we are and why we do what we do.
Right.
And I think that, I think that we've kind of said that, I think, in a pretty good way. I think we can explain it pretty well. But, yeah, it's a really good market to be in. But it's also one that you have to watch. We've had endless stories about different stuff and, different countries, and, it goes all the way to world politics to the local politics. We got the election that happened. We got a Republican coming into office, and that usually bodes well for blue collar work.
And business in general.
Oil
and gas.
Yeah.
Then there's questions about tariffs and steel and commodities and this different stuff. And that's all. I mean, I think what this podcast show can be is, discussing all of the above. It can be entertaining, discussing stories, topics, drama, but it can also be informative, discussing geopolitics, local situations, commodities, information, and data.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of good meat that we can talk about forever.
And as far as pipe goes, we deal a lot more in the structural than anything, like we said. But we do a little bit in the OCTG, which OCTG is oil country tubular goods, which is oil field rigs, working over rigs, new pipe down hole, flow line, stuff like that. We do a little bit into that. We're not experts by any means, but that's an entire different industry that you think oil and gas, and you think, they're pumping oil out. Well, there's lots of sub-industries that go with the pumping oil out, and pipe is a very big one. You got to pump the oil out with something, and you got to, do all that. So a pipe is a big thing in the OCTG, and that's an entire different market than the structural. They are very connected, but they're very different.
Right. And the thing that we haven't even talked about is sucker rods.
Right.
And that's a huge part of pumping oil and gas, obviously.
And a big part of structural as well.
And a big part of structural, and it is incredibly hard to get your hands on rods right now.
Yeah.
That's a whole different episode, but...
Yeah. Yeah, and the different, like we said before, there's the new pipe, there's the new structural pipe, there's new oil field pipe, and there's new reject, there's used, there's the different grades of used, which we can get into at a later date. That's a big conversation, is what are the grades, and that's one of our biggest questions. But there's a lot of information that goes into this, and there's not a lot of places to find the information.
Right.
It's like with the pipe, you Google structural pipe, you're going to get all kinds of information and spec sheets and things like that are not easily to be digested.
Right.
And that's something we hope to change, is to kind of get all in one place, the information that you want, the information that you need, and drill down into a digestible form to where we're discussing the things that we want to know about, because I want to be informed. I want our customers to be informed, and I want everybody to know what they're getting. Like if I sell you some 2 3/8 number one, I want you to know what number one is and what it means. Right. Brushed and cleaned. What does brushed and clean mean? Well, I want you to know what that means. Mm-hmm. And we individually, we explain that to people, and people usually understand it once we've explained it. But if we could get it to where people just kind of understand it in general,
right,
that would be good as well.
Yeah, there's no Wikipedia, so to speak, on this stuff. I mean, maybe there is, but I have yet to find it.
Yeah. there is, I'd love to know it.
I know. Someone tell me where to find it, and I'd be happy to. And there's probably some stuff in there that I disagree with if there is one.
Yeah.
I've heard about, big Halliburton books for the OCTG,
Right.
everything, but they have to update that all the time.
Yeah.
I think, how do we get the word out on structural tubing, different grades? What is it used for? How is it graded? What qualifies for number 1, number 1.5, number 2, and beyond?
Yeah.
I think the best way is just simply to talk about it and try to project that information into the ether,
Yeah.
like what we're doing.
And, like we said, the Steel Pipe Exchange with its, on Facebook, it's 33,000 plus members. That's a good start.
Yeah.
That's a good start to put the information out there and for people to interact and have questions, and get some
leave your comments.
feedback. Yeah, leave comments, ask questions. If you want to know something and we don't know it, I'll research it and I'll find out. Because if I don't know something, I want to know something.
How long have you been in the business?
I've been in the business, since I was a kid, going to work with my dad, working on stuff like that. But, I've been around it my entire life. But in the business, I came back into the business, I believe, in 2016 or 2017.
Yeah.
I think it was 2017, actually, is when I came. I was out working other jobs for other people, big companies and things like that. But I came back in 2017 and, we did some things. That's when my dad was still alive. And, we were just buying and selling. My dad did most of the buying and selling stuff, but I was in the business, hearing about it, learning about it and figuring it out. And I'd heard about it my entire life.
Right.
So,
well, you and I really took over in 2019.
Yeah.
Take over is a strong word for 2019, but that's where it started, I think.
Yeah,
but, you've been in the business since the 80s.
Yeah.
But
really,
I've been in since 2019, and
yeah,
he's been in since the 80s. I've been in since 2019. We probably are the tip of the iceberg in terms of information. So
yeah,
I think the Steel Pipe Exchange, people think of it as a marketplace, but it also is a forum where we can put our knowledge out there. People can comment, they can correct. Elon Musk and Zuckerberg are doing community notes. Why don't we do community notes in our, that's as easy as putting a comment on there. Well, no, that's not what this is. Here's the origin of this or whatever.
Yeah, I'd love to know if I'm saying things wrong. I'd love to know it because I don't want to say it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's going to be a really good knowledge base for us to have, not only for ourselves, but for anybody, anybody in the industry. And I'd love to, talk to people. We talk to people in the industry all the time, but I'd love to, have some specific topics to, call up one of our guys that's been in the industry a long time and sit and have a conversation, whether that's structural, whether that's oil field, OCTG, or whether it's new pipe, whatever. I'd love to have a conversation or an interview with those people and,
Oh, that'd be super valuable.
Yeah, that way we've got information, not just what we've come up with or what we think, but we get...
And the historical aspect of this industry.
Absolutely.
Hey, for the people that have been in for a long time, like we have, or even longer.
Yeah.
Where'd you guys get your start? What there's everybody knows they can Google who started ExxonMobil.
Right.
It all came from Standard Oil and this and it spun off and this. There is no knowledge base of who started your family's company, who started this family's company, or if they started it. Okay, well, we got in just a few years ago, but now we're huge. How'd that happen?
Yeah, it goes back to storytelling. How history used to be. It was through stories, through songs. Right. History was told like that, and it's kind of like the history in a lot of our industries, like family-owned businesses. That history is interesting. It's good history. Right. It's worth writing down, but we just have it in our minds. Who's going to do it? Who's going to write it down? I'd love to talk to people about that as well and get historicals on how they started it and why, and some of their stories of what has happened to them and how they've mitigated their stuff or how they got, in a bad way, and how they came out of it and what happened. All that stuff would be really...
If you've survived for 10, 20, 30 years in this industry, I want to know how. Yeah. And I want to know some of... I was talking to some of your family. This is probably back in 2020 or 22 at that point, maybe, because we've had a couple years of COVID at that point. And I remember asking them, what are some of the, like, is this the worst you've ever seen? And they said yes.
Yeah.
But there were some other times in the 80s,
Yeah.
90s that they mentioned were pretty dang close.
Yeah,
And,
some of the old timers would probably tell us that,
Yep.
well, it was about that bad back in this time that, we
Yeah.
weren't in the business.
Right.
Could be before we were born,
There's not very many people who have been in the business since the 80s. And
Yeah.
I'd like to talk to the
Yeah.
ones that are still in.
Absolutely. So, I think that's going to wrap us up. Steel Pipe Exchange. That's kind of who we are, what we started, why we started it. Kind of an overview on the industry, high level. I'd love to get into it some more, and I think we will in future episodes.
Yes, indeed. Pleasure.
Alrighty.